everyone. Thank you so much for coming to our May Goddess Gathering. It's our Abundance Groovement, and we appreciate you being here. We just want to thank our most gracious hosts, Ellen Schaefer with Schaefer Public Relations.
Hello. Yay!
Matt Charpentier, who I'm sure will poke his head out because he is darling, and he is a creative genius. There you go. And also Rod Schaefer of Arctic Audio. So if anybody needs some, knock your socks off audio, talk to Rod. He's the man. Well, before we get started, I just want to introduce ourselves. I'm Sheila Sorensen, and this is Darcy Simonson. And together we created The Grateful Goddess. And we've been in business for about 2 years now. And the mission of The Grateful Goddess is to raise the consciousness of joyful living. And so who among us thinks that financial peace is a component of living a joyful life? I'd say so. Yes, exactly. So that's why we decided to invite Carolyn Kramer to join us this evening. She's back there. She'll make an appearance in just a little bit. But anyway, she is a wealth coach, a financial consultant, and also a mortgage consultant. And so she has a very unique blend of bringing spirituality into financial abundance. The majority of us, we've all been raised for some reason or another not to talk about money. There's just, especially here in the Midwest, there's this taboo against talking about money. And so we wanted to sort of figure out why that is and see what we can do to overcome what we believe to be very limiting beliefs about money. For many of us, we may have grown up with the messaging of there's never enough, or money doesn't grow on trees, or some of those sorts of things. Anybody have anything like that kind of resonates with you in your childhood? Well, mine didn't particularly have that. We did have money, and it never was much of an issue. But instead, for whatever reason, the messaging that I received as a child or throughout my years was that money was evil, and that people with a lot of money were greedy, corrupt, and that they were self-centered and didn't care about anybody else. All they cared about was their money and their possessions. Well, I didn't want that, so again, it was another way of adding these limiting beliefs into my life. First, become aware that we have these limiting beliefs, and then second, incorporate gratitude into our life for everything that we have, because we all have very abundant lives, and we all know that. But it's a matter of being grateful for where we are today and all we have today, as well as our entire past. Even the hardships have been a blessing to us if we look at the lessons learned within them. And then finally, third step is to actually bring to consciousness when we do put those limiting beliefs out there, and so that we can correct ourselves. And so that's what Carolyn's going to do for us today. She's going to help us walk through some tips and techniques that will help us eliminate some of those limiting beliefs that we may have. So what I'd like you to do is spend some time thinking about what messages did you receive throughout your childhood that made you realize, this is not a message that's suiting me very well. It's not for my better good. And how real is it? Does it really make sense? Because for me, in terms of that, people with a lot of money are very greedy and corrupt and care only about themselves, it was not true in my real life. I know so many people, very good friends, with money who are nothing but generous and kind and giving and loving. And so even though on a conscious level I knew that to be true, my subconscious has had a difficulty matching those two things up. And 2009 is just an incredible year. It is, numerologically speaking, it's the 11, the 2 and the 9 together, the 11 is a master number, and the 9 is a year of transitions. So it's the perfect time to let go of old habits and beliefs that we have, exactly, Has anybody else felt any change or transition in 2009? Little bit. So anyway, it's been an amazing year, and there are so many other adjectives that also fit that particular this year. But that's the whole thing, is that we want to, be grateful for all the lessons learned within this year, and start to realize those things that are not suiting us, let them slip away, and be very conscious of the things that can help us move forward and find a very abundant and prosperous life. So I'm going to turn it over to Carolyn to help us with those tips and techniques to do just that.
The topic of money always intrigues me. It's just interesting, I just think of the song "Money, Money, Money." Now I can it's just interesting because money just brings up such a wide range of emotions for us. When we talk about money, we love it, we hate it, we can't live with it, we can't live without it. What is it with this money thing that we've got going on? It intrigues me to no end. And again, with my background, coming from a very practical financial planning background, having been a planner and lender and broker and insurance agent and all those things, kind of stepping over to the more metaphysical realm of money, is interesting with this practical background that I have. So anytime I can come into a conversation like this where we can blend the two, the traditional and the not so traditional, sides of money, I'm all for it. I'm all over it. So this is great. So I'm happy to be here tonight. And like Sheila said, we're going to talk about 6 very practical steps here, if you will, on how to shift from this money mindset that some of us have. I don't know about, well, maybe not. I know I have it at times. From scarcity, right? This feeling of lack. Stepping over to this mentality of abundance, right? And abundance is what we're going to be doing later. So the first step, right, when I'm talking about this that I like to see or talk about is to think wealthy thoughts. It starts with thoughts, okay? Sounds simple. We talk about positive thinking. It goes much deeper than that. Our thoughts. Everything starts with a thought. If you look around here at the glass, that's holding our wine, someone thought, for some reason we need something better to drink a beverage out of. So it started with thought, and then someone created a wine glass. So everything going on starts that way. And if you think about thought and what's going on in our mind, we're infiltrated with so many messages. We want to look at the media, right? And there's a few messages out there about the recession, right? Have you heard that there's a recession going on? Our portfolio is declining, and net worth's declining, whatever. There's just so many messages out there, and so we want to think about: are we buying into that? What's going on with our thought process? Are we buying into that or not? Are we thinking otherwise? So the first one is to change your thoughts, right? A favorite saying of mine is, if you want to change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Okay, so again, starting with thoughts. And with that, it goes into the second step then, and that is vibration. Okay, the second step, again, from shifting from scarcity over to abundance thinking mentality, is to lift your vibration. Do you know what I'm talking about when I talk about vibration? Does that make sense? You know what that is when you walk into a room, right? You walk into a room of people, and you can feel it. You can feel, is this going to be, is this a very heavy, gossiping, negative, type group of people, or is this a very high, vibrating, resonating group here? You know that. You can feel it by the vibration. Have any of you heard of Esther Hicks and her work with Abraham? Anyone? She's got a lot of good material out there that talks about vibration. They've even got to the point they make a science out of this, where you can measure where you're at, where you're calibrating, where you're vibrating at. There's even scales where you can see where your vibration is. And the higher you are, or the more enlightened you are, if you will, you don't get sick as often. More good things come to you. You're just at this higher level of things. It's a great place to be. And how do we lift our vibration? What do you do when you're down? People say, how do I lift, get into that higher space? Well, the first thing that comes to my mind, of course, is gratitude. And Sheila talked about that too. Of course, the Grateful Goddesses know all about gratitude. But to get into that place will instantly shift your vibration to a higher level. It's a wonderful thing.